Hi, and welcome to the very first episode of Pseudo Ludo, a video game podcast. I'm joined here by my two great friends, Brian and Nick, and we're going to talk about video games. And you guys want to say hi?
Great's a strong word.
Hi, I'm Brian.
I'm Nick.
You guys sound extremely thrilled. You guys want to just say hi again, but like, you know when people, like a speaker is like, oh, I can't hear you.
Aye, Captain.
Hi, I'm Nick.
That was worse.
Okay. Yeah, that felt weird. Okay, so we're gonna warm up today by playing a fun little game called What's on Brian's Desk, and we are going to guess what is sitting on Brian's desk. Nick, why don't you take us through the rules of that?
So Brian goes through and lists 3 things that are possibly on his desk. 2 of them are actually there, while 1 is false. And Tim and I have to guess which is the incorrect one.
And they're always wrong because they know nothing about me. Are you ready to lose?
It's hard to be always wrong when this is definitely the very first episode we've ever recorded.
Well, you don't know what we do for fun.
Yeah, definitely haven't had hundreds of terrible failures.
This is just another
Maybe
one, baby.
millions. That's the right attitude.
Crash.
Yeah,
100%. Come on. All right, are you ready to lose? All right. Item number 1, literally $1. United States cash currency.
Is it in bill format?
$1
coin?
bill.
See, this is going to be some kind of weird little lie where it's like, oh, it's actually 75 cents.
Okay, you done?
Yeah.
All right. Next item, a copy of The Ride of a Lifetime, Lessons Learned from 15 Years as CEO of the Walt Disney Company by Bob Iger. By Bob Iger is quite the tongue twister. A book about being the Disney CEO. Or a pair of Adidas Ultra Boost 20s. Let those yawns out, boys.
How much were the Ultra Boosts?
About $180 manufacturer's suggested retail price.
Did you get them on like a secondhand website, or what'd you do?
I bought them from Adidas.
What'd you get them for? Just fashion, or for
I like to
exercising,
wear shoes.
Weird. Have you worn them yet?
No, tag still on, fresh,
Tag's still on.
Untampered with, non-exposed.
Well, I'm a good
Nick?
friend, and I pay attention to my Goodread updates emails, so I know Brian has been reading that book, or has started reading.
But he has a Kindle. He has a Kindle.
No, I'm gonna say that he didn't put it on Kindle though. I'm gonna go with $1. I just feel
I'm gonna say he got the book on Kindle, and it's a classic Richie switcheroo, and he's gonna try and fake us out, and he's actually reading the book digitally. How about that, Richie?
You have one chance to lock in your answer. So you locked in.
I'm locked in. I'm 100% sure.
Nick, what did you say? $1?
Yeah.
No, Murph is right. 100% to a T. I'm reading it on Kindle. Classic. These are nice shoes, by the way. I'm gonna take them off my desk because they're taking up a lot of fucking space for this stupid bit. And this $1 belongs in the trash because who uses cash these days? Come on.
Yeah.
But hey, congrats, Murph. There's a first time for everything.
Hey, thanks.
Nick, better luck next time. But I'm glad you're subscribed to my Goodreads notifications.
I gotta keep up on the news, bro.
Yeah, I like to spread false propaganda, like, so that I can do this for the game. I knew that one of you would have seen that, and so that's why I included it. But I almost put my Kindle on my desk and just used it as an item, but I was like, no, not up in here. But yeah,
that's much more unique. Are you liking the book so far, or what?
Yeah, it's great. The first part of it was I want to get to like where he bought Marvel and Star Wars and stuff. The first stretch was like about the theme parks, but then he went into like his origin story of like working in like lower level jobs is very interesting. Seems like a cool guy. He should hire me.
Yeah, he should.
Even though he just stepped down.
Nice.
R.I.P.
Nick, you read any books recently?
I can't even read.
Okay.
Just add in the SpongeBob. I can't read.
Well, I can't read.
Just editor's note for Murph.
Yeah, I got you. Sweet. All right. Well, why don't we get into what we've been playing, because we don't need to read books because we are too intelligent for the written word.
I am very dumb.
No, I love books. But what have you been playing, Brian?
I have been playing Nier Automata and Celeste, and also the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo I beat, but we will get to that in the news portion.
Yes, we will.
I beat the first route of Nier, which, for those who don't know, and you need to play it 3 times to beat the game. It's like a secret alternate playthroughs and stuff. I started the second playthrough, but I didn't get too far.
Why don't you explain the game for...
So it's action RPG developed by Platinum. Came out in 2017. It's like a post-apocalyptic sci-fi, very weird, very anime story where you play as like these androids that are supposed to be defending Earth against machines, and it's a very complicated and a very interesting story. I don't really want to get into the specifics of it because that's the coolest part, is like all the different factions and who ends up being not who you think they are and things like that. And it gets into some really highbrow themes for how ridiculous what is actually going on is. But I'm very excited to continue playing it because I've heard that the subsequent routes are just expansive to the story and all that, and it really completes the whole picture. So I'm looking forward to finishing it up. And Celeste is dope too, but I haven't beaten that yet.
Nice. Are you with Celeste? Are you enjoying the story or the gameplay? I know the gameplay is really fun.
The gameplay is amazing. The story is cool. Just a little. I think it's a little on the nose for what it's trying to be. But I like it.
I thought it was a bit on the nose too, but it's cute.
It's impactful, but it's definitely not even remotely subtle about what it's actually trying to be about.
No subtlety.
The gameplay is amazing. It's super satisfying. I like how fast paced it is. Like, the brutalness of the platforming is not as frustrating as it could be because of how quickly levels reset, how fast you respawn, and it makes it like a really addictive loop.
It is great. I loved that. I didn't beat the game, but I loved just kind of when you die, you hop right back into it. So it leads to these really fun like streaks where you're trying to be perfect. It's not too difficult. It's difficult.
It's hard,
it's challenging,
dude. It's
but
very hard.
But it's not frustrating because it puts you right back there. It's not like, oh, now I gotta go do this whole level again to get back to this hard part. I can keep trying until I perfect it. So it's very well paced in that way, I think, where it balances that difficult, challenging platforming with very forgiving save points. Yeah, maybe I'll get back to that at some point.
Yeah, I'm enjoying both of those games a lot. I think I'm probably going to try and platinum both of them, but once like all the spring games start coming out, I don't know about all that. We'll see.
Yeah, who's to know at that point? Sweet. All right, Nick, what have you been playing?
I've been playing Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. Making my way through the story, about 15 hours in now, and up until this point I've been able to pretty much coast through all the battles and all the boss fights and stuff, but now they're getting a little more difficult, so I have to start grinding, like leveling up all my familiars, myself, my squad out in the overworld before I go into the like hubs where all the stuff takes place. So I had to grind for one boss, did that, moved on. I got to grind for this next one, but I stopped playing that, and I also have been playing Nier Automata, Game of the Yorha edition. And
nice. I
also agree that it's really good. The combat is super satisfying. I've never really played a game like this before, but I don't know. There's just something really satisfying the way the light and heavy attacks mix up, and it's got that classic Japanese like throw the enemies up in the air and slash them around up there, and it just feels good, and the pace of play is really good in that game also.
Yeah, I like how it switches perspectives, and sometimes it's like a 2D platformer type thing, and sometimes twin stick shooter, and like then it'll be like a Star Fox type game. A majority of it is like just action platinum combat, but there is a lot of, like Nick said, the pacing is really good because it does mix it up when things start to get boring. And it is fast. Like, if you don't want to do any of the subsequent playthroughs, it's only like 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah, that's cool. It seems like they're not afraid to mix it up and be a little outside the box. I feel like in general, like Japanese developed games tend to do that more. They tend to be less boxed in and rigid as to what kind of game they want to be. Like even just thinking with what I've been playing, Dragon Quest, that's a very traditional game, but they do like to bring in all these elements like thematically and kind of play around with it. It's got some dark moments. It's got some super dark moments. But it also has some really light-hearted, really funny moments. It's one of the most like charming games I've played in a really long time, and I'm still really into it. I've been playing it for a few weeks now. I think I'm about 40 hours into it, and it's got to be... I think I'm probably 2/3 of the way through it or something. I know it's a really long game, but I've been really enjoying it still, which is kind of crazy that a game so long has caught my attention when I have so many other games that I've been eyeing as well. Yeah, but Nick, was that it? The rest that you had to play?
I played a little bit of NHL 20, but we don't have to talk about that here.
Yeah, I'm all the way out.
Yeah. So let's talk about the other thing I've been playing this week, which is, to your great surprise,
Sly
the
Cooper?
PS Vita. Yeah, the PS Vita. So that console came out when? 2012, Brian, I want to say?
That sounds about right. Somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's been dead for probably the past, 3 years at least.
Yeah, so a good purchase.
Great purchase, though. Still love it. It's actually...
It came out 2013,
really, really fantastic.
by the way. But that doesn't seem right. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I think...
It says November 2013.
Yeah.
It came out at the same time as PS4, or was PS4 2014? No, PS4 was 2013. They came out the same month?
Yeah, No, they definitely didn't do that. No
This
way.
is fake news.
Yeah, that can't be right. It came out before the PS4.
Wait, it says December 17th, 2011, but then right above it says November 2013, so I don't know what's going on. No, you're right, 2012. Cut all this out.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, it came out in 2012, but it's a great console, great handheld console. Obviously, Sony's support of it and the games that it got were not as great as the initial design, but I do love the aesthetic of it. I like the size of it. It fits really well in the hands. It plays really well. Nice tight controls. It's a great machine. I think it is just baffling, and there's something about Nintendo that's been able to do this, where the same thing happened with the original Game Boy and with the DS, the first iteration of the DS, where there was competition from other handheld consoles that were objectively more powerful, objectively more advanced, and everything. And Nintendo somehow always sweeps the floor with the competition in the handheld market. The Game Boy was going against the Game Gear and eventually the Sega Nomad and all kinds of things like that, and it was able to last from 1989 all the way through... When did the Game Boy Advance come out? 01?
I believe so.
I think it powered through for over a decade with just a few iterations. It's pretty amazing. The same thing happened with the DS. The PSP sold really well, but the DS, I think, doubled it in sales. Even though both those consoles were majorly underpowered compared to their competitors, something about Nintendo handhelds always win. Same thing happened with the 3DS. It blew the Vita out of the water, absolutely slaughtered it. And the 3DS is great for the games that it has on it, but I think you'd be out of your mind to not think that the Vita is the better designed console.
Yeah, but that's the whole reason people buy consoles. Is for the software. It's
for the games.
There's no games on
Vita. For sure.
So that's why.
No. Well, there were originally, but they dropped it really fast. I think once the PS4, sold well out of the gate, I think they kind of just capitalized on that.
Have you been doing a lot of the remote play?
Yeah, I tried it out. The Wi-Fi in my apartment isn't perfect for it, so it's not the optimal setting to test it in, but it works really well. It's cooler than remote play on your laptop or phone, which I've tried both of those, because it's just still in the Sony family. It feels like a lot more, easy to do. Like if I have my PS4 in rest mode, I'm on the Vita in bed, I can just hit the remote play button and it'll get going. I think that's really cool. Yeah. It's right in the home menu. So it's been cool for that, and it's definitely cool to play older PS1 classics and stuff like that look great on the smaller screen because of the pixel art and stuff. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing more of it and getting into like the indie catalog on there, which is also supposed to be really good. Definitely worth the price. I'd recommend grabbing one. It's only like $100, and I mean there's still a ton of them you can get.
Yeah, I'll get right on that right before PS5.
Let's say no.
Yeah, that's fair too. I think when PS5 comes out eventually, when I'm done with everything the Vita has to offer, and they shut down the store and all that, I can just turn it into... I mean, people still use PSPs as emulator machines, so that was my thinking. Like, once the Vita kind of gets officially shut down, I would just, jailbreak it open and get cracking on the emulator on there.
Pokemon emulator? Now you're talking my language.
Yeah, you can put it... I mean, and it'd run probably up to PS2 emulation.
NHL 08?
I don't... Maybe... Oh, I can just mention, I've also been playing the Dragon Quest original trilogy on the Switch, and I won't get too much into it, but it's been really fun. I like those games a lot. Playing Dragon Quest XI really made me want to go back and experience those, and it was a lot of fun to do so I'm really glad I tried that out. They're very old, but there were some improvements made along the way that kind of rebalanced it and fixed the grindiness of them. They're still really grindy, but they're not as completely, horrible as the grind used to be back in the NES days. But yeah, those are really fun. If anyone wants to play like an old JRPG, check it out on the Switch. It's also on phones, which would be really good for commuting, that kind of thing. Yeah, but anyways, let's get into the news, guys.
So, first bit of news, the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo is out. Brian, you mentioned you've been playing this. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I beat it. First, before I get into the specifics of the actual game, when you beat it, it doesn't say like, hey, thanks for playing. It just says select a version to purchase or something. Like, it's just immediately like the audacity. But
no, they know exactly what they're doing.
But usually it's like, oh well, here are the options if you're interested in buying. It was just like select a version to purchase. But I thought it was really cool. I don't really have I've played 7 when I was younger, but I never beat it, and it was never like a staple of my childhood or anything, so I don't really have nostalgia for this game or the series in general. But I was really impressed with it, man. Like, I thought the way the combat systems are surprisingly deep but very easy to understand. And the most recent Final Fantasy game I played was 15, and I thought the combat was really boring and kind of button mashy in that. But in this, like, there's a lot of variety that you can go about, like, because it's kind of a combination of like button mashy action combos and stuff like that, but then also you can like slow time, and then like menus pop up like the old school RPGs, and you have moves. So it's kind of like a seamless blend between action and like not turn-based, but that energy. And I thought it was really cool. Like, it upped my chances of buying it a lot. I still don't know if I'll buy it day one, or like, because there's just so much coming out. We'll see. But I was not really anticipating this game or like considering buying it, but I definitely is on my radar now. And it ran really well. It looks great. It's very just smooth, fun experience. That demo runs about an hour, like 50 minutes, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I played it too. It seems awesome. I had just recently started playing the original port of the Final Fantasy VII on the PS4, and I didn't finish it, but I played through to the part that the demo covers, and it seems to do a really good job of preserving that feeling. I mean, I didn't play it, obviously, at the time that it came out, so I don't have that nostalgia for it either, but it does seem to preserve that same feeling that you get playing that game. The music's great. The visuals are incredible, I think. That opening cinematic was beautiful. All the characters' designs look great. It seems like it's really fun, and I did enjoy the updated combat. It's very flashy, very fun. I'm not sure when I play it if I will go back, because they did offer the option to play in the classic mode, which is just active time battle, turn-based, all that. So I'm not sure. I think I like the new combat, but maybe I would want to go back and try the old school style out. I'll have to probably try both and see what I like more. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm not sure if I'll get it at launch either, because I think I want to. I think I want to get through the first game, through the original game first before playing the remake, so I can kind of truly appreciate what they've done. Yeah.
So none of you plan on getting it at launch?
I don't know if I plan on getting it at all, but
Are you gonna play the demo?
I might try it out. But I just, I'm not really interested. I don't got that. I don't vibe with it.
It's a lot. I was surprised by how much I liked it, but I still think when it comes down to which remake I'll be getting in the spring, it'll be Resident Evil. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I think I might just wait on Resident Evil a week or whatever, and then compare reviews and see. I'm definitely gonna get it eventually, but I feel like this is gonna end up being like an extremely highly praised, like best of the generation type of thing, where people are gonna really really love it. But we'll see.
What, Final Fantasy VII?
Yeah, it really did strike me
for
as
sure.
as
I think it's gonna be like
being
a
something
monumental.
special. Yeah.
Now, I do have a fear that it might be a little weighted towards the front, just especially with how long they've been working on this. I have kind of this feeling, this thing that they definitely worked on this first hour a lot, because that is like, I think the iconic, when you're showing a remake, you want to show like that opening scene and all that. So I do want to see how the rest of the game plays out, and if it's as, powerful as this opening hour was. I'm interested to see where they cut it off, because it's not a full remake of the entire game. They are changing plot points, but I'd imagine that it's still going to end on some kind of cliffhanger. And then we're all going to be waiting years for the next one. But definitely looking forward to it.
It's also a big turnoff for me, is that the wait that you'd have to have.
Yeah, I think they're definitely changing the plot to keep that in mind, where it's probably going to feel more like a trilogy of games as opposed to part 1, part 2, part 3.
They're doing 3?
No, they haven't announced how many they're doing. It might just be 2. I'm not sure.
That'll be so convoluted if it's like Final Fantasy 7 4.
Yeah. Who knows what they're going to do. But yeah, my prediction is this game's going to get great reviews, it's going to sell gangbusters, and it's going to be in the Game of the Year talks.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, it looks great so far. Definitely excited to see more. And even if I don't get it right at launch, I'm definitely very excited for it.
Murph, if I
do just want to play the original first.
If I platinum that game, you have to get the Cloud haircut next time you go to the barbershop.
I thought the voice acting was really good too, by the way.
Yeah, it was good. It was a little over the top, but
it was hammy, but it was like in a intentional way, I thought. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I have to say about it. It was a good demo. Looking forward to seeing more. All right, up next, GDC has been postponed, and this was following several major parties already dropping out of GDC. So I guess we'll see if they come back for the rescheduled date.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was postponed due to coronavirus concerns.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see right now what is going to happen with these types of conference cycles, considering they all seem to be stopping because of coronavirus. Like how PlayStation and Xbox are gonna tend to their announcements for next gen, and in general, like game developers just giving their games press, how it's going to take shape, if it's going to be mostly digital press releases, because it seems like all of these in-person conferences are getting postponed or canceled, or people are dropping out. So another one bites the dust.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a symptom of a larger global problem going on with this outbreak, and we'll just have to see, because it could be very detrimental, I think, to this start of the generation. This is not something you want in your first year of releasing a console. You want people to have their pockets full. You want them to be out there. You want them to be attending your events and being excited. You want a lot of good buzz. But with all the economic concerns this is causing, not to mention the disruption to their manufacturing chain that's going to be coming from people missing work, it could be a big problem, and we may even see these release dates get pushed back farther, which I would hate to see. But
I don't think so. I think
they'll figure it out.
Probably just be a scarcity.
There may be a scarcity at launch, which could be good or bad, I guess.
Could be beneficial, the way that Nintendo always shorts their supply for any new thing that they have and drives up demand.
I feel like they usually sell consoles in a short, though. don't they? Like they place it. Like
they choose, like when PlayStation 4 released, they prioritized America, so America got all the copies of the console first. So they did that was the first time they did that. They had prioritized other markets in previous generations. But yeah, so there is a shortage, at least in a sense of like they have to make choices about who to prioritize and that kind of thing. But you just wouldn't want to see a recession right when you're launching a new piece of hardware.
Definitely not. Or ever.
Obviously, for major fans like us, like it's not, it's going to be worth it for us, but definitely for when you already are trying to wean people off of a very successful console on the PS4 with a very huge install base, it is definitely going to be hard to convince people to come to new hardware, I would say.
Bro, I just want to hear some shit about it. Like, if you want to delay it, sure, but what games are coming? I just need that news cycle to feed on.
All right, next bit of news. The Death Stranding PC port release date has been announced, and it was accompanied by a trailer, but we can just skip right to the release date, and that is June 2nd, 2020. Pre-orders for the PC edition are up now, and it looks like it'll also feature a collector's edition of some type with pre-order bonuses and exclusive gear, that kind of thing.
This news was out there before the game was even released on PS4, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think there wasn't a date.
This is the first time there was a date, but it wasn't known that it would be coming at some point.
So it shouldn't be a surprise. I mean,
right, it's not a surprise. It's just the announcement. Yeah.
That game's awesome. It was my game of the year last year. Anyone who doesn't have PS4 and has a PC, you should scoop it up. Also, the mods are probably going to get wild on that.
Mods will be wild. You'll be playing as Shrek or something.
Yeah, you'll be delivering all sorts of nonsense. But that game's dope as hell.
Yeah, great game. It's cool to see. I mean, this is not a first-party studio, but it's cool to see that there's some kind of wall being broken down between console and PC markets when it comes to a PlayStation exclusive being available on PC.
I would actually argue it's sad, but, to each their own. I like having things have exclusives. Otherwise, what's the point of having separate consoles?
I like exclusivity, too.
But this is, like you said, this isn't first party, so this isn't new.
Right.
But if they, the rumor that Horizon's going to go to PC, that'll be weird. It'd be different. I guess it doesn't really...
a rumor? I think that was official.
I don't think it's been confirmed yet. But maybe it has. I'm not sure. But it hasn't come out or been dated. But I guess if they did it for older games, it wouldn't matter. But it would be it would make exclusives feel less important, I guess, which shouldn't really matter. But it's just the way things have been. It's just, not something I'm willing to give up yet.
You want to get to the next piece of news?
Only if you do.
All right, next up. The creator of the Konami code, Kazuhisa Hashimoto, has passed away this week at the age of 61. He was a programmer at Konami, and the code is probably the most famous cheat code and one of the most famous things about gaming culture ever. It's been present since the NES. I'm gonna have to check and see what the original game. Oh, okay, it was in Gradius. I don't know that game, but apparently it was so hard that this programmer put this code in so that he could beat the game while he was playtesting it. And it ended up becoming a mainstay everywhere. Even if you go to Google, you can put in the Konami code and Easter eggs will happen. It's a very, very common code. So, yeah.
Does it help with the Google offline T-Rex browser game?
Yeah, might. I'm not sure.
All right. It's it's pretty hard sometimes.
So Konami released a tweet and said, "We are saddened to hear about the passing of Kazuhisa Hashimoto, a deeply talented producer who first introduced the world to the Konami code. Our thoughts are with the Hashimoto-san's family and friends at this time. Rest in peace." And then they tweeted a picture of the famous code, which is up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, start.
Yeah, it's sad.
Sad.
Thoughts to the family and just the gaming sphere in general. It's an important figure.
Yeah, he definitely brought a huge piece of culture to this industry.
For sure.
It's everywhere. It's in Fortnite. It's on the Google Stadia.
What does it do in Fortnite?
Let me see. There's a link that I can check.
That sounded like a big assumption.
Yeah, that sounded not true at all. I'm very interested to see what what it does. Puts on aimbot.
So if you put in the Konami code, you could play a mini game while you were waiting during the black hole event. Remember when nothing happened?
Yeah, that's cool.
And it was shut down. So I guess putting in the Konami code let you play. I'm looking at some gameplay. It looks like it's kind of like a maybe Missile Command style game. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, so it's been in everything, and it's I'm sure it'll be in a lot more things.
Was that in Chuck? I feel like that was in Chuck. The show Chuck.
It definitely could have been at some point. I mean, it's in so
That sounds
many
like
things.
something that would have happened in that show, but it's been a long time since I've seen any of it.
Yeah. So do you guys want to get in the topic for the week?
Nah.
If you want.
All right, well, thanks for tuning in, guys. Now, so our topic for the week is our underrated games. And we're going to play a little loose with the structure here. Just underrated as in maybe it got worse reviews than you think it deserves. Maybe it was just overlooked entirely. Kind of whatever you interpret that to mean. So we're just going to go through and rattle off a few games and what we think about them. Brian, why don't you start us off with one of yours?
All right, so the first one I chose is the most recent of the 3 to 4 that I have listed, which is a PS3 game that was then ported to PS4 called Sleeping Dogs. And this is a
great pick.
Grand Theft Auto-esque game where you play as an undercover detective in the Chinese triad, and it's really, really good. I think it was better than GTA 4, and it then became kind of overshadowed by GTA 5, obviously, because 5 is a masterpiece, but this game is really, really fun. The combat is more hand-to-hand focused than something like GTA, and it's really ridiculous, like all the combos and stuff you can do. Like the environment has a lot of interactive stuff that you can like throw people into, but the story is really compelling too, and it's just overall one of the best open world crime games that has come out recently that unfortunately was just kind of, you know, overshadowed by how big GTA was and how good GTA was. But I think up until GTA 5, this was definitely the king of that genre, and I think it's very underrated in the whole scheme of things. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think I remember you playing that back in the PS3 era and telling me about that.
I have it on PS4 too.
I think you brought it over to my house once, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
That game's awesome though. I played it recently because I have the PS4 version too, and it still holds up. It's a lot of fun. I love the way the city looks because it's set, I believe, in Hong Kong. It might be Shanghai, but it's like all the neon lights, and it's just super colorful, and it's a unique setting. You don't see a lot of games set in China, and I think
you don't.
Yeah, it's contemporary Hong Kong. I had to look it up, but it's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fond memories of it, and I don't think it's brought up as much as it should be.
Good call. I want to say it's $5 on the store right now on the retros and remasters sale, or no? Is that
probably?
Maybe
I already have it.
That sale might have
know.
ended. But I say it was very cheap at one point recently. I would have to check and see if it's still up.
It's in my list of potential platinums if I ever get back around to it. But I played it for a couple hours recently.
I looked at it for the platinum potential when I saw that it was $5, and I was like, oh, I remember Brian liking that game.
It's sick.
Didn't pull the trigger. Yeah.
It's a long platinum, but it's supposed to be easy. Mostly just kind of like checkbox stuff, like you just clear out certain areas, you beat the game, and then do all the side stuff. Basically, it's not supposed to be hard, but it has all the DLC and everything, so it's supposed to be a pretty long platinum. But that game's awesome.
Well, if you're still recommending it, maybe I will go check it out at some point. Because I did hear good things about it back in the day. Sweet, Nick. What do you have for an underrated game?
So my first one, I mentioned it to you guys last week, and I said that I was going to swap it out for something else, but I thought about it a little bit more, and people always have praise for Mario Golf and Mario Baseball.
It's your show, Nick. It's your show.
It is my show. And so they have praise for Mario Golf, Mario Baseball, and one game when I was a kid that I played countless hours of and enjoyed so much was Mario 3-on-3 Basketball on the DS. And, no one ever mentions it anymore, and I loved that game. And so that's going to be my pick.
I want to say I played this game.
I have played it.
I just need to look it up. I need to give it a Mario Hoops. That's what it was called. Yeah. No, I did play. This game was great.
Yeah.
No, it definitely is not talked about. It was really fun.
You could
I'm looking at
put
it
that
now.
back on. You could do something like that back on the Switch. Why don't they put
Dude,
more
I would love
Mario sports games on the Switch for modern day?
I know.
You have the
I was
motion
watching
controls if you wanted. You could just play it like a 2K classic, like just with the buttons.
The story behind how I found this game was, I want to say I found it at my school somewhere, like on the floor or something.
Awesome.
After school. I think that's what happened. Or
I think you stole it from somebody in cold blood.
maybe I blacked out.
You stuffed them in a locker,
woke up,
and convinced yourself you found it. And that
Brian,
person was never.
You think this shrimp was going to be able to beat anyone up and take their video games?
At one point, he was the tallest person in every class.
Dude, I was a linebacker on the football team in 7th grade. I'm the exact same height now as I was in 6th grade. So can you imagine me? I wrecked people. Yeah. And then turns out I stopped after that. But yeah, I do remember that game. It was really fun. Good pick. And to your point, I would love to see more party games, GameCube style, on the Switch, because it is a perfect console for all those games. They should all. I'd love to play Mario Baseball, Mario Super Strikers, Smash Bros. Melee. I think those should all just be ported, like direct ports. I don't even need a remaster. Nothing. Just give it to me. Let's go. I'm ready.
No comment. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
You know exactly what sound clip's going in right there.
Stay tuned.
All right, Murph, what do you have?
All right, so I have a few games.
Whoa, one.
I know.
All right, drop it.
I'm going to start off with one that is very overlooked, as in,
oh no,
I don't know a single other person that's ever played this game except for a very small subreddit community. And this is a 2015 2D space trading and combat game inspired by the classic Escape Velocity series, which was from the 90s, I want to say, which is a PC series of space trading simulation games. And that game is called Endless Sky. And Nick was my roommate when I was obsessed with this, so he will remember this.
I do.
He does. And let me tell you the story about how I found this game. No Man's Sky was set to release that summer, and I was super, super excited.
That excitement aged well, didn't it?
It aged really well. And I wanted to find a game that would whet my appetite for it. So I was browsing through Steam, and I found a free game, which, like, a free game on Steam is probably not going to... I think this was a 1 in 1,000 chance that this ended up being as good as it was. And
those aren't bad odds.
No, it was a fantastic game, actually. It was, from what I knew of Escape Velocity, it was like a very direct, like, someone kind of just made those games again. But yeah, so fun. It's kind of like Animal Crossing or something, where you get your first ship and you're in debt to, like, the Tom Nook, you know? You got to pay the bank back what the price of your ship was. And you can follow these different routes of either trading, combat, or piracy. So you could go around all these different planets. It was kind of like an open space, and you fly around to different planets and land on them. It's all 2D, but, you know, it's a 2D plane, one plane of movement. But you land on these planets, and you can either, you know, say buy corn on one planet and fly through a dangerous part of space and sell it to another planet where it's in higher demand, make your money that way. You can be hired as a guard for trader ships and fight off pirates, or you can even be a pirate if you want, and you can take over other ships, kill their crew, and sell the ship or scrap it. It had a lot of customization. You could, you know, deck out your whole ship. You could buy new ships. It had even like a main story. It was really, really cool. And the best part was it was open source, and anybody could add to it, and there was this whole community that was creating content for it. So it was a really cool thing. And never heard about it. It's nowhere to be seen. But if anyone is interested in those games, or if they were excited for No Man's Sky and the hype didn't really live up to what they wanted, this is more indie in scope, but it's a really great game. I would highly recommend it. Did you guys leave?
Yes. I'm gone.
Brian, you want to go next?
Yeah, so up next, to quite literally just stomp all over what Nick just said, I have Mario Baseball. And I have it / Mario Super Strikers, but it's Mario Baseball. That's It's so good. Like I still play it. It has aged like the finest wine one could possibly imagine. And Nintendo is a bunch of fucking cowards for not releasing another one, for being honest. Even though this one still plays exceptionally well. But I mean, I genuinely think it's one of the best GameCube games. It's so much fun. And everything's just so well balanced. There's such a great, diverse roster of characters all through the Mario universe, and it's just excellent.
Nintendo could re-release an entire suite of new sports-themed games, and they would
not even new, dude. Just fucking release the other ones again.
Yeah, whatever. And then you could, if they were smart, they could add online capabilities, and you could constantly just find someone to play with online instead of having to play the computer. But yeah,
the other one they have is tennis, right?
I don't even know if that's still
they have a Switch tennis.
Operational.
Yeah.
Oh, they do?
Wow. Yeah, there's a Switch tennis. That's the last sports game that they've done. They had a sports mix on Wii that was not supposed to be good. They had like volleyball and random shit like that. But it's just because I think the Wii kind of fucked it all up because they made them all have motion controls, all the sequels. Because they had sequels for like all of them on the Wii. But they all had motion controls, and I think the sales probably went down because people weren't trying to do that all the time. And then they probably took that as a signal of like, oh, well, no one wants these anymore. Wrong. I actually don't know.
You hear that, Mr. Nintendo? We want our sports games back.
Yeah, and we'll give you Reggie back if you...
I'm keeping Reggie. I make no promises about Reggie, but I do want some more Mario Baseball.
Also, the Mario Baseball menu music is the best club banger this world's ever heard. Murph put it in here in the edit. He's not going to do it. He's lazy.
All right, am I back up again?
No, I am.
No, please, no.
Oh, God.
My second underrated game, I don't know if you two will agree with this, but is EA's Battlefront 1. Because
that game sold really well.
That's not underrated.
Critically, though, people don't like it as much.
That's true, but I think that game's awesome.
Yeah.
It might even, in a lot of ways, it might be better than 2.
I believe it is better. But
the maps,
yeah.
What was the? Wait, hold on.
Did that get bad reviews when it came out?
Neither of them got great reviews. They got like 70s. But
wow.
What is it? Renvar? It's like not in any of the movies. It's like it's a snow map, and there's like a cave. It was so much fun, dude. I remember the fights in that one cave.
Yeah.
The only problem I had with that one is just that they didn't have playable Jedis. Really, that was my I think the gunplay.
I didn't care too much about that.
You couldn't beat Jedis in that.
Yes, you could.
All right, Nick. Anyways, get to what you were saying.
You couldn't. Come on, a bet.
Yes.
Let the man talk.
You had to find the coins.
Wait, are you talking about on the fucking PS3 or PS4?
Yes.
Oh, whoa! I thought you were talking about the OG.
Yeah, he said EA's Battlefront. Yeah, you were talking about. I was like, wait, Renvar was in that game because that Ice Cave one was cool.
I forgot that. Wait, who published the old ones? Wasn't that also EA?
Pandemic, but
yeah, Pandemic developed them.
I don't know who he meant the
new
the dice game.
okay.
Nick, just start your whole thing again.
My second game is the newer EA Battlefront 1.
So the 2015 Battlefront developed by DICE.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
See, Brian doesn't agree with it. They didn't receive great critical acclaim, but
I mean, neither did the originals, though. That's still true.
And people are right in their critiques of it, saying that it's pretty empty or barren. There's a lack of content. So there's only like five maps or something like that. But that might have been the only shooter game that I've ever been legitimately great at. I had so much fun at playing that game. It was unbelievable.
So it got an 8 on IGN. I would give it about an 8, and that might even be generous, but it was really fun when it came out.
I think
it sold really well too.
I think it's
so
really
I wouldn't call
fun.
it underrated.
Well, I don't think sales have anything to do with underrated. I just think I think it's very well rated because a lot of people were harsh on it because it had no fucking content. Like it was.
I think past that.
I mean, I guess
I liked it. It was really good sound design, great visuals. Obviously, DICE did a great job with the shooting. It was pared back in scope, which was I thought fine. Just kept it. I know Brian, you love playing as the droids in the original games. I was fine with just rebels and the Empire.
No, that's dumb.
I'm a a true fan, unlike you fake fans, which I'm saying with complete sarcasm.
Sarcasm.
But I don't really care for the prequels.
I don't either, dude. It's a game. It's totally different. I'm not watching the fucking stilted ass movies. I'm playing with the cool characters.
I do like the clone characters and stuff, and it was cool how the voices actually in Battlefront 2, didn't they get the voice actor from the Clone Wars show? That was cool.
Yeah. Well, the thing with the new ones is it's such thinly veiled laziness, or like laziness thinly veiled as being true to the fans. Like, oh, we're not going to include any of it. It's because you don't want to add all that extra stuff. Get the fuck out of here. I'm not buying that for a second. However, I would say that I do think the original PS2 one is underrated compared to the original PS2 second one, because I think most people look back on the second one, and I think
I'd agree with that.
That one's awesome too. That's what I thought.
It had some great maps that didn't get carried over.
I don't think either of these new ones are underrated or overrated. They're just kind of where they are.
Yeah, I think they're rightly rated.
Well, I think it should be rated higher. So
that's your choice.
Pick.
I'm just merely I'm merely chiming in.
This is
Nick's, I mean, a 9 could be underrated theoretically if you believe it's a 10.
I agree. Yeah. Which is why my next pick is
The Last
The Last of Us 2.
Underrated game.
For being honest, it is now. People like you saying it's overrated. Fucking
dude, I've never said it's overrated.
What?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, you have. Ladders. All right.
Since I've played it, I haven't said it. Maybe I said that before I played it when I was in.
Move on, ladder boy.
I think it's perfectly rated. It's definitely a 10 out of 10 game.
All right, what's your next pick?
All right, my next pick, and this is kind of crazy that this will be the third Mario game in a list of underrated games, because if anything, you would think that would be the opposite. But this game does not get enough love, and that is Super Mario Land.
Is that a Game Boy game?
That is the first Mario game for the Game Boy, the first portable Mario game. And the reason it doesn't get a lot of love is because it was not helmed by Shigeru Miyamoto. It was more of a spin-off team. I'm saying a lot of ums. I'll cut those out, don't worry.
Will you?
Hell no, to the no, no, no. Hell to the no.
This was one of the first games I ever played, so I am deeply nostalgic for it. But it is a great game for what it is, and I do think it needs to be talked about more. I think people overlook now the ability to play a Mario game on the go, how monumental that probably was at the time for the Game Boy. And I've played through that game dozens of times, and the level design is still great. There's still so many fun things in there. It's a lot weirder, way weirder than the actual Mario games. It has aliens, and you go to Egypt, and it's
like real life Egypt, not like pyramids, but specifically American Egypt, American Earth Egypt,
pyramids. No,
American Egypt, the one in Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas. You go to Vegas and hit the fucking tables.
No, it's just really cool. It's very experimental and weird. Obviously, graphics aren't great because it's a Game Boy game, and I think people widely consider the sequel to be a lot better, but I still love this game, and it's still a great Mario game. Very hard, too. I think it's way harder. I think it's way harder than Mario 3 or Mario World.
Yeah, those games aren't hard.
Yeah. I think it's harder than the first one, too. It may have to do with it just being on the Game Boy. Very small sprites and all that. But yeah, I think it's a bit underrated. No one really talks about it anymore. From what I've seen of like definitive, quote-unquote definitive rankings, that one's always towards the bottom.
Where it belongs.
But every Mario game is a good game, so let's give it some love.
No, I haven't even played it. I'm just fucking around.
Either of you, have you? Okay, good game.
Actually, maybe I have, now that I think about it, because my brother, fun story, had a Game Boy, and I left it out in the rain.
Oh,
and it broke.
Did he kill you? Her?
God, you are the worst.
And I think it was a Mario game, unless there was multiple Mario games for the Game Boy.
There were a couple for the game. There were two, I think.
Yeah, not a good look.
One cool thing about that game, one crazy memory was the first time. Well, every time you save the princess, and it's Princess Daisy, by the way, which I believe is her introduction. Like it. Yeah, I do love Daisy. She turns into an enemy and flies away. So, like, it's not the princess is in another castle type thing. It's the princess is there, and then you find out it's an enemy in disguise, and you're like, oh shit, and then you got to go to the next world. I can still hear the sound effects of that scene playing out.
You should probably go to therapy.
He says like, yeah, I know, it's haunting me.
Brian, what's your next game?
So this is the last one I have is Red Steel 2 for the Wii. This is going to be a hot take here, but
I've heard this game, but I don't know it.
I was such a big fan of this game. It's like the first one was a launch game for the Wii where you play as like, I think it's like a modern day game, like in real life Japan, and I think like you're dating a Yakuza boss's daughter or something, and I don't know. It was bad. And then they made Red Steel 2, which has absolutely nothing to do with the original. It's like a post-apocalyptic Western meets samurai cell-shaded game, and it was
this game looks sick.
Dope as hell, dude.
I'm looking at it.
It was dope as hell. It had it was the Wii Motion Plus or whatever, where that attachment that made the motion controls way better, and it was awesome. I used to just play it through I played it through probably like 10 times. Like I just kept running through it because I only had a Wii at that point. I didn't have PS3 or Xbox yet. And it was just awesome. Yeah. It was such a unique, weird setting, and the gameplay was really fun. And it was a world I would have loved to see more out of, but evidently it must not have sold. It was a Wii exclusive too, obviously, because of motion controls. But like, I'd love to see them go back to that world. Like, it was such a unique and interesting setting that it's a short game, so there's not like that much lore or anything. But just like the way it looks and the way it played was super satisfying. And I never really hear anybody talking about it. So that's my third pick.
That looks like a great pick, Brian.
Yeah.
I really am now kind of sad that I never played this back in the day, because it looks
dope as hell,
really,
dude.
really cool. I mean, I don't know how they would port it, but I would love to play like a remaster.
One of the main guys involved in that had something to do with For Honor, which makes sense, but obviously that's more multiplayer focused, so I'm not as interested.
Right. No, that looks really cool. Looks like a hidden gem. Maybe if I get the Wii out again at any point, maybe I'll...
Yeah, it's a nice arm workout. Well, I'll have to find it first. Somewhere in my library.
Yeah. Library. You sound like an old man.
I am.
All right. Nick, what do you have next?
So, before 2019, I believe, there had never been a true Civilization game on PlayStation, except for Civilization Revolution, and it is a bare bones kind of basic version of Civilization that has been on PlayStation forever. I used to play it on PS3 with my dad. That's how I started getting into those kind of games. But even though it has a lack of content, you'd say compared to normal Civilization games, I have put so many hours into that, and people just discredit it because it's not a true Civilization game.
That was on phones too.
Yeah, I played it on phones. I played it on PlayStation. I have so many hours in that game.
I played that on my phone, I believe. That was a good time.
Yeah, I remember having the demo on PS3, and like you could only play a certain amount of turns, but I just refused to pay for it because I was like 13 and would just
I want to say
it.
I tried that too, even though I had it on the phone. But I never was too into Civ compared to other like RTS games. I just kind of thought it was weird with the anachronistic stuff, but I mean they are great games, and yeah, good pick.
Yeah, good pick. Congrats.
I used to get into weird phases where I'd buy it on like every phone I had and just play it forever.
It didn't save on like an account or anything.
I don't know, but I would just play another world. It was super easy because it was different. Because I never played a real Civ game except for Civ 5, so I don't know how they used to work. But in Civilization Revolution, the units would stack, so like you can put 3 rifleman units in one thing, and they became stronger. And I don't think you could do that in Civ 5. I haven't really played a ton of it.
I think there's some kind of upgrading thing.
There's like upgrading, but it's not like from when I played, it's not like this stacking. So you just as soon as you got like the next most advanced like military unit, you just start stacking those, and you could just roll over everyone.
Yeah, I saw it on a list of... I was like looking at underrated games, and that was on one of the lists that I saw. I barely remember it though, but it was good. It was good, especially
download
for,
on your phone if you
game.
get a chance.
Nick has stake in it.
Tim, what's your last game?
Bold of you to assume I only have one game left.
Oh Christ!
So, what sequel to a beloved action fantasy game would you guys like to hear about? Which one would you like to hear?
Sly Cooper 3: Honor Among Thieves.
Let's go with Dark Souls 1 is one of the most beloved games of all time.
Oh God!
And Dark Souls 3 is also loved by a lot of fans, and of course Bloodborne is very highly regarded. Not a lot of people talk about the awkward middle child of that series, which is Dark Souls 2. So, Dark Souls 2 is a great game, and while I admit there is something different about it, it wasn't made by Miyazaki, and it has this different feel. The different feel is something you can really grow to love, and it's something I've grown to love. And I think when people say it's not as good as the other ones, I think a lot of people assume that means it's not worth playing, whereas I definitely disagree with that. And I think the difference between them doesn't make it worth one that you should skip. It's not like, oh, that game is just unplayable, skip it, go right to Dark Souls 3. I think it's just something that kind of takes a little bit longer. It takes kind of looking at it with a different viewpoint, and I think you can grow to love it, and I definitely love that game. It's still one of my favorite games. I mean, all the Dark Souls games are some of my favorite games of all time, even that one, even if it is kind of the least loved of the series. But yeah.
All right, Brian, what's your next game?
All the Sly Cooper games are underrated, but Resistance 3 is one that I had kicking around that is significantly more compelling than the first two entries, but I feel like is often kind of just left by the wayside when talking about that series and when talking about shooters of that generation in general. It had, in my opinion, the most exhilarating gameplay loop of the original games, and the story was way more pared down and personal and interesting versus the other two, which were more like just kind of generic war story games. But this one, like, you're all alone, and it was a more isolated and kind of scary game. And that game was awesome, and I would love to see either like a remake, remaster, or additional entries in the series more in that vein. And also Knack 2. All right, Murph, what do you have?
I just wanted to shout out Zelda 2.
Oh, Christ.
This fucking guy, Brian.
Anyways, so Zelda 2 was released before the US even got Zelda 1, and it is this really great departure from the original game, which is a classic. And Zelda 2, I wouldn't call it a classic, but it definitely does some really cool things that for the time were probably a first, especially in America, and especially on a home console. It's almost a precursor to RPGs in the sense where Link levels up, you get stat points, and you can put them into different stats. I think it's health, attack, and magic. And you walk over an overworld, and then there's enemies that you see on the map, and you can run into them and enter combat mode. It's definitely one of the weirdest Zeldas and one of the worst ones, but for what it does, it's very revolutionary for its time, and it's in its own right's a good game. It's not a good game compared to the rest of that franchise, I want to say, but it's just a cool like NES game that's overlooked a lot now. And it did do a lot of things, and it still is fun to play. I played it on Virtual Console, and I wouldn't say it exactly holds up, but if you follow a guide and it gets you through the more obtuse parts, I think you'd have fun playing it. That's all I have to say about it.
Super weird how Nintendo was really swinging for the fences early on. Like Mario Bros. 2 was super weird too.
Yeah, every second game was a departure. Castlevania 2 was very much like Zelda 2, where they tried to make it more open, more RPG-like. And then for the third one, they returned and made a masterpiece. They did that with Mario 3, made a masterpiece.
But they also moved closer, at least in the case of Mario, back to what it originally was doing.
That's what I'm saying. Like Castlevania 3 moved back to the original.
Well, I didn't know.
That's like when Coke changed their recipe, and then it was bad, and people asked for the original recipe again.
It's just, I wonder if there just wasn't, since there wasn't a precedent for like what sequels should be, they were just fucking balls to the wall, like changing shit. Just using the same.
I was thinking that too. I think they were thinking like, There just wasn't like no one made sequels to games like those were the first ones. So they're like, I think we have to make it completely different, right? But no, people want the same thing but better. That's what it turns out to be.
I mean, yeah, I guess, but it's interesting.
It is.
That's like when I look at my friendship with you guys. I was friends with Tim first because I was forced to be his roommate, and then I wanted like the same thing but better. So I found Brian who lived down the hall.
the same thing. That's true.
We just got reduced to sequels.
I don't know about better, but
wait, who was the second? Who was the derided second sequel?
We don't talk about him here.
Nick. I think that only leaves Nick.
Ralph, when I spilled my iced tea on his carpet and stained it day one.
That's getting cut out. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I also wanted to, in that same sense, like shout out Castlevania 2 for the same reason, just while I was talking about Zelda 2, but I forgot to do that, so that's fine.
Did you play Castlevania 2?
Yeah, I played it on the PS4 collection.
That's in there?
I didn't beat it.
Which one's that in? Not the one I have, right?
The one that just came out. Well,
okay,
came out. The one that came out a year ago. Not the Castlevania one that you have.
Requiem or whatever.
Cool game, but that one's even more obtuse than Zelda 2 is, and I doubt I'll ever beat it without a platinum to persuade me. All right, so we're going to wrap it up for this week, guys. If you're listening, which you probably aren't, please feel free to follow us on Twitter at Pseudo Ludo Cast, and be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast, and share it with any friends who like gaming as much as you do. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye. Bye.
They were never here to begin with.
Bye. This is good radio right here. Yeah, let all your screams and sneezes out now.
So by definition, it's the worst. All right, Tim admits Dark Souls 2 is the worst game ever. Is that not what that means? But it is. That's literally the definition of the word. But is it the lowest quality of the Soulsborne games? Is it of the lowest quality? Admit it's the worst. Say it's the worst. Say the words. Say the words. Dark Souls 2 is the worst. Say the word. Say the words. So it's the worst. Would you say it's the worst of the Zelda games?